Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a unboxing and build review of Vespid Model's Flakpanzer VIII Maus. Most people know the Maus is one of the wonder weapons of the Third Reich of the Second World War. They didn't get so far. People believe that they were planning to put them into production later in the war. That's not true. They're actually cancelled in late 1943. But there were two models that were that was possible to be completely operational, and one that was sort of just for trials and testing. So what we're looking at here is a Flakpanzer version of that, which basically means it's an anti-aircraft tank. This tank would have, quotation marks, had two double-barreled 88mm guns. Oh, sorry, one double-barrel 88mm gun, as you can see there, on a modified Maus turret. Little bit different sort of project to do, I guess. It's not, you can have a little bit more artistic freedom with it, because if this was ever to happen, obviously the war would have had to go on in a very different way. Germany would have needed a lot more materials, and the war would have needed to go on until at least 1945, late 1945 or 1946. So this is a bit of an alternate history. What would have happened if this X would have not happened, for example. So it's sort of a fun little project to take on. Obviously, you can make any camouflage you like, seeing there's no real historical need to match this with anything, so that's fun. The box does give us a few options on the sides. You can see here a bit of a ambush-style camouflage with dots, a winter camouflage on the other side. Oops, oh no, sorry, it's on the front of the box. The typical sort of tricolour German camouflage. So what we're going to do, we're going to open the box. Before we look at the sprue, I'm just going to show you the decals that you get in the kit. So you do get a fair amount of decals, which is nice. We get 4 sets of numbers, of number markings. So 100, 323, which is in white, 314, which is in black, and then we have 121, which is white outline with black interior, which is always nice. Some crosses for the sides of the tank. And then we have some Panzer Group insignias in the box, which is always nice, especially you're only going to use probably one of these on this actual model, so you're going to have a few left over for some other models that you may want to be building in the future. So that's pretty cool. From there, we'll also look at the photo etch, which you do get a little bit of for the grills. You can see here the sets of photo etch for the grills. And then you have a little line here for the oil tank or water tank at the back of the vehicle. So that's nice. Quality of the photo etch seems decent. It's coated in some tape, I assume, so it doesn't fly off when you cut it from the metal sheet. So now what we're going to do, we'll look at the plastic. The first thing is we'll look at the turret. Detail on the turret is nice, I must say. There is one little sort of injection mark here, which is a bit raised, which will have to be sanded down and then filled, probably. Besides that, I don't see any imperfections. The cupola of the commander's cupola, sorry, has a nice cast texture, maybe a little bit much, but nice cast texture anyway for the scale. You get all the weld seams and weld cut marks on the vehicle, if you can just about see that where my right index finger is there. Also here, you can see on the top as well, running around, so you put some wash in there, that's going to come up very nicely. Some hatches for the crew around, so yeah, different turrets, different thing. To give you an example or an idea of size, this is just the turret for the vehicle, right? And this is a Sommer S-35 tank. So just the turret is basically the same size as this early war French tank, so it gives you a good idea of scale compared to normal vehicles. Even though the Sommer was a smaller vehicle anyway at the beginning of the war, it still gives you an idea that how massive this vehicle is overall. So turret, nice quality, no real problems. There's no rolled steel texture on the sides of the plate, so you're probably going to want to put that in if you want to go for a little bit more detail, but that's easy to do with a little bit of thin glue or some Mr. Surfacer. So from there, we'll then go to look at the main hull of the vehicle. Take out the plastic. We have a lower base here. Take that apart quickly for you. And as you can see, nothing too special. Nice detail. You have the bottom detail there, so if you want to flip it over in a knocked out, I don't even think anything could flip this vehicle over if it wasn't blown up, but if you want to somehow put it in a side or flipped over view, maybe if it fell off a bridge, or fell through a bridge, seeing the weight of it, you could do that. Little join marks there with the welds, which is nice. And yeah, pretty cool, nothing too special. Now let's go to look at the top of the hull. Same thing, very nice detail for the scale. We have you don't have to actually put electric cables for the lights, which is nice. They've already pre-molded that into the plastic, which is very cool. Then we have all the grills. There's no mold imperfection that I can see. You are getting, running along this edge, you are getting a weld seam all along, which is very nice. And then at the back, I think these are bolts. Another weld join. So yeah, all good. No complaints at this point for me. Nice detail, as far as I can tell. Yeah, pretty cool. So now we'll move on to the turret part. So this kit, you do get 2 plastic barrels or 2 metal barrels. The plastic barrels do have the actually barrels drilled out already, so that's nice. So whatever you want to use, you can use metal or plastic. You can use the metal or the plastic, which is nice. Sorry for moving the camera out of the way so you see the comparison of the two. So let's open this up. So this is the first piece here we'll look at. This is the base of our turret, as you can see. So nothing special, it's the base of the turret. We then have our 2 guns. The holes without there, slide molded barrels there, and then the pieces to make up the mantlet of the gun. So that's cool. Nothing too simple there. And a little hatch where my left index finger is, and some covers for the range finders on the top of the vehicle, and back hatches for the turret. Cool. And then the next thing, it's the sides, the side plate of the Maus. So these are double layered armor to protect the running gear of the vehicle. So nice and thick. We're going to have to put those on in the build process. Then we have some deflector covers to cover the exhaust ports, and we have our 2 little lights, 2 little running lights there in the front. Hatches. This seems to be another, I'm not sure, that is a cupola or whatever, a little periscope housing. Our barrel here on top, which is nicely designed, because instead of making it a split joint, we're just going to have to push them together like this instead of having to fill a seam that runs along the whole tank. So that's pretty cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, so no complaints once again. There's not much, there's no texture for the rolled steel, so whether some people in this scale think it's not necessary to even add that rolled steel texture, but that's up to you when you build the vehicle. Me, I'll probably bother to do it just to keep on, just to give it a bit of a try anyway. And then we have our tracks. They are link and length tracks, so you get 2 sprues worth. If I can just find the opening. There we go. We'll pull out just one because they're identicals. Perfect. So obviously the Maus was a very big vehicle, so it needed very big tracks. So this is all track, basically. Nice. There are no or very little flash, if none at all. I can't see any for the moment. We also have some pretty decent, yeah, good detail. What's nice about these, you don't have any injector pin marks on the underside, even though you won't be able to see it with the way the running gear system is set up on a Maus. But that's very nice. And we even have the little circular pinholes. You can see where my finger is running there. Those little pinholes, they do go all the way through. So you can actually see light through those, which is very nice. So very good detail on the tracks. And you got to remember this kit is in 1/72nd scale. So obviously there are some amazing modelers who can make 1/72nd scale, tiny little tanks look like they are life size and pretty much, being used in the real world. So for these guys who are really good at that, they'll be able to bring a lot of life into the kit. And then we have the running gear here. Drive sprocket, idler wheel, road wheels, suspension arms. Yeah, just nothing really too much to write home about. Obviously steel wheels. The later war steel, I think they're steel wheels for the Maus's wheels. I'm not sure, maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. I can't really remember. But yeah, the good detail once again. Obviously a lot of this is going to be hidden except for the very base of the road wheels and the base of the track. But it's there, so it's going to be there, and that's nice. So no complaints and all good there. So from that, what let's put this away, and then let's have a look at the destructions. So first thing, you have your parts chart. Here you have a little call outs for color and everything, which is cool. And then it's a little bit of a flip open one, so just move some of this out of the way on my side, and let's flip it open. So first we have step number 1, which is, as usual, putting in the running gear. Yeah, why not? Put it in, I'd say. There's nothing really, you're going to need to put it in first anyway, because the way the side hull is going to cover all this running gear. And then here are the steps for the link and length track, so we'll just follow that. Later in the video, if that's wrong or needs to add more links or less, I'll let you know. And here, assembly of the lower half of the hull, putting in our photo etch, take another flip out, adding in some top detail to the hull, putting in the barrel on the back, adding that photo etch in, connecting the top and lower half of the hull. Assembly of the turret, first the mantlet, showing you how to put it together and how to insert it there. Gluing, putting on the range finders, and then flipping over to the last step. It's putting the barrels on, putting the back hatch on, and basically, yeah, you'll finish. Also some covers again for the range finders. So then we're going to look at the 3 callouts for our painting options. Now, obviously, painting options very loosely, because you can paint whatever you want. If you want to paint this pink, go ahead. It's a paper panzer, could have been anything, so we don't know. So don't listen to someone saying, oh no, we only saw it in this color. Forget about it. Especially, yeah, do what you like. So first one, we have a 3 color option, which is nice. Something a little bit different. It's the same. What do I say? It's the same as most German tanks, and a bit of a soft, round edge camouflage pattern. Then we have our sort of ambush camouflage inspired camo scheme, brown and green, with some white circular dots around. Quite cool, not bad, nice. And then finally we have the winter camouflage option. So yeah, pretty cool. I think for my paint option, what I'm going to do is the turret is going to be painted just in red primer, as if the turret has just been moved brand new, like no changes have been made to the actual hull of the vehicle. They've just removed the turret and slotted in this new turret, so that's going to be in a factory red color, maybe oversprayed with a little bit of green, or maybe German yellow or dunkelgelb. And yeah, and then the base, we'll think about it as we go on in the build, or later on. So for the painting, we'll do that in another video. So now, guys, what we're going to do, I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to start the build, and we're going to get into that together. And then at the end, I'll let you know my thoughts and feeling on the kit as a whole and how it went together, and if I had any struggles. All right, guys. So starting off with the build, the first thing I decided to assemble was the road wheels and the running gear. So you do have to make quite a few of these, 24 in total. So they fit well, and they weren't very difficult to clean up. The plastic is sort of that nice in-between of hard and soft, where if you have the right kind of sanding paper, you can sand off all those nubs that you get after cutting from the sprue. So no complaints there. As you can see, I'm just assembling it here. Didn't take me long. I think in total to make all 24, it took me like probably an hour. As you can see here, it takes 1 sprue to make these 6 main sets. So the 24 break down into 6 aside for the running gear. And then here I'm making the idler wheel. Very basic, very basic. You're literally just gluing 2 halves together. Fit once again, very good. Not much or not any flash on this piece at all, actually. And now we're moving on to putting on some photo etch. Good, the photo etch fit well. It was nicely made and nicely thin. I'm just placing it. They have pre-made like nooks for them to go into, so just set them in there and then you super glue on top, as you can see I'm just starting to do here. So no complaints there, and it's a nice detail as well. You know, in the scale it's not always going to be noticeable, but especially when you have a vehicle as big as the Maus, you would notice it, and you do notice it once it's all assembled. So I do appreciate the inclusion of that. And as you can see, it is showing the top view and the difference that it does make. It's very easy to put on as well, so there's no reason not to do it. I did have a bit of a fit issue here with the hooks, or where you would put tow hooks onto the tank. There are quite big gaps.
I ended up having to use Mr. Surfacer 500 to fill those from the inside, which is a bit of a pain. And as you can see now, I'm just connecting the top and lower half of the hull together. Now, this isn't really recommended by the instructions. They recommend to connect the sides to the lower hull first, but I thought this would be a little bit strange, so I decided to fit those later on. And as you can see here, we are then getting what it looks like after I've placed the two together. And after that, I'm just gluing on the running gear to the lower part of the tank. I don't put the drive sprocket in yet. I put that in last, and I don't glue it in until the very last moment, mainly because I don't want to have a situation where the track links aren't going to fit properly with however I place it. So that's the reason you don't see it on there. And you can see here, I basically dry fit the side panels to hold the running gear in place while it's setting, so it's not going to set wonky. And then what you can see there is all the running gear has been put on, it's set properly, and then we can get on to the stage of now putting on our link length tracks. First thing, I did find an error with the instructions here. It lists the wrong order of how to put 3 of the track links, so just take that as a notice. And as you can see there, this is basically a finished lower half of the track link. I decided not to put the upper half because you can't actually see it, and it's very difficult to push in. I have not yet glued on the side panels. They are just being held in by sticky tape at this point. As you can see here, all I'm doing it's not being glued onto the actual tracks at this point, just sitting freely, and then I'm gluing them on. Same thing here on the makes my point more about the sprocket, is where you see it's fitting right and nicely into the track, and now I'm gluing it in place. So later on, when I do put the tracks on after they've been painted, they're going to fit properly. And as you can see here, I've made both tracks, the sprockets have been glued in place, and all the running gear is finished. So yeah, when you do this, if you like, you can of course make the whole track, but I also decided not to do that, so it gives us the option for maybe possible spare track links on parts of the vehicle, whatever else, so that's handy. And yeah, from there, then we are going to move on to putting on some of the detail on the top of the hull. So these sort of, what would you call them, armor sheets to protect the grille covers, and just gluing them on. Fitting well, no fit issues there. They fit where they were supposed to go. Just a little bit of extra thin cement being placed, and yeah, that was really easy. Didn't take me long and easy to clean up as well. Moving on from this, we then come to, I just make the barrel, or whatever it is, the oil drum or the fuel drum at the back of the tank. It's slide molded, so you don't have to clean up a big seam going down the middle. There are some seam lines along it, though, which you have to clean up with a knife. And then here I'm putting on the last piece of photo etch, which is basically just I'm not sure, like a steel band retainer on the vehicle. Easy to place once again. Just take your time, a little bit of glue on the edge of a toothpick, and that did me well. And yeah, it looks good. It gives that bit of extra detail that you won't get from plastic alone, which is always appreciated. Now, this is the one major issue I did find with the kit. It's not a massive one, but the way the side panels fit to the vehicle, there are a lot of seams along the side. Now, they're not large, and if you just want to have this as a 72nd scale vehicle that you're not going to look up very close, you don't have to fill them, and that's completely fine. But for my case, I wanted to fill them up, and they were on both sides of the tank. So what I ended up doing is using some epoxy putty quick type from Tamiya and some Mr. Surfacer 500, and basically filling in those gaps and sanding them down later. So that's the biggest issue I found with the kit in all. So you can see here I've had to apply it along. If you don't have this kind of putty, you can always sort of use some sprue glue, which is just basically plastic mixed with plastic cement, which also works. And now we're assembling pieces of the mantlet of the gun. So this is the part that's going to allow us to move it freely without any glue, which is very handy. And then Yeah, but really easy cleanup and gluing. And same thing here, another part, the front of the actual mantlet, or the actual mantlet of the gun, just gluing that together. It comes in 3 pieces, so it's not difficult to make. It's a bit of a funny shape. This is a paper panzer, or whatever you want to call it, a blueprint only vehicle. So it's one of these things where you look at it and you wonder how effective it would have been in an actual military scenario, being so flat on the front, but it is what it is. And going on from there, so these are the 2 little pieces of plastic that hold on to the side of this drum we made earlier, and they fit very well, and the engineering is good there. They fit nice and tightly, and even when the metal barrels are applied, you can still keep it up or in any position, it will hold without any glue needed. So that's very good. And the same thing, there are some nubs on the bottom which are slot into the lower piece of the turret, which also are fitting perfectly. I didn't have to do any modification there, so that engineering there is good, no complaints. Yeah, so moving on, as you can see here, just gluing it in place and holding it down a bit. I'm then going to dry fit the turret top. I did notice something. Now, this isn't really a fit issue, but I thought it was probably a choice of Vespid to do it like this, but I thought it just looks a bit strange in the scale, because you're left with these fairly large gaps in between the front plate and the inside of the mantlet. And my idea, if someone run, in the real world, someone ran out with a grenade or whatever, they could really destroy the whole tank. So what I do, I fill it with some putty again, as you can see here, which I think it looks better like that. So not really a fitting issue, more of a choice by myself. And now I'm just applying the metal barrel, really simple, bit of dab of super glue on the end and then holding it in place with my finger. Very simple. The guns go in nice and easily, and no fitting issues. And here you can see the tank is nearly finished. We just have to apply a few details like the front lights, back hatches, top hatch on the commander's cupola, and a few other things. So as you can see, I've applied the back hatch and the top hatch on the tank. Just showing you a bit of an overview of the turret. And now I'm just going to show you 2 things. I don't call it out in the instructions, but you can drill out some holes where the antenna would go on the front. So I decided to do that. Not really necessary, just doing it because I can, truly. And now, just showing you the finished turret, I've put the 2 rangefinders and the rangefinder protectors, and it's looking pretty good. Like I said, there are no real fitting issues besides that one with the sides of the hull, so happy with the kit overall. As you can see there, the barrels line up nicely, which is good, so the holes that they made were placed properly. And as you can see, basically just showing you up, after I've cleaned off all that excess a filler on the sides of the vehicle, what it's looking like now. It wasn't too difficult. It was, of course, whenever you have to fill and sand any kit, it's a pain, but every kit I have to do, I've just finished the Tamiya Spitfire, the new one, and I wasn't, even though people raved about how well it fits, I still have to do a fair bit of sanding on that as well. So no kit is perfect, but obviously if you're very much a beginner, it's not completely ideal. So now the kit is finished. As you can see, I'm just giving a run around of the vehicle. So can I recommend the kit? Yes, I can, absolutely, especially if you're interested in the subject. So yeah, definitely a recommended kit by me. I paid for it $15, so that's a good deal in my opinion. So guys, if you did find this review and build review of this particular Vespid model kit helpful, please remember to leave a like and subscription on my channel. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys on the next one. And thanks for tuning in. Have a good one, guys. Bye.